Apple may have just leaked its entire next iPhone roadmap, and it didn't come from a supply chain photo or a blurry prototype. It came from Apple's own software. In iOS 27 Beta 5, hidden references have reportedly been discovered that point to 6 unreleased iPhone models, including an iPhone Ultra, which many believe is Apple's long-rumored foldable iPhone. And if this leak is real, it doesn't just hint at new names. It also strongly suggests Apple is preparing major hardware changes around battery tech, power management, and possibly even dual battery designs built for foldable displays. Here's what happened. After a week-long delay, Apple released iOS 27 Beta 5 to developers, continuing its Polish pass ahead of the public release expected next month. On the surface, it looks like another typical beta, fixes, refinements, and under-the-hood tweaks. But according to a report from Macworld, digging through the system files reveals something far more exciting: explicit references to iPhones that Apple hasn't announced yet. And the biggest shock isn't that one future device is referenced. It's that the code appears to call out an entire future lineup. The report says these references were found inside system components tied to battery drivers and Apple's battery intelligence features. That matters because iOS has to understand the power behavior of new hardware long before customers ever hold it, especially if the hardware introduces new battery layouts, new screen types, or new power demands. And that's exactly what makes this leak feel believable. The references aren't sitting in some random marketing string. They're tied to the parts of the system that would need to be updated if Apple is preparing radically new iPhone designs. According to Macworld, iOS 27 Beta 5 lists 6 unreleased devices using Apple's internal identifiers v62, iPhone Air, 2v63, iPhone 18, Pro v64, iPhone 18, Pro Max v67, iPhone 18 v68, iPhone Ultra V. Source iPhone 18e. Let that sink in. If accurate, this is one of the clearest iOS beta leaks in years because it doesn't just hint at one model, it maps out what looks like Apple's next iPhone generation, including a budget E model, an airline continuation, and the headline grabber, iPhone Ultra. And the Ultra naming is the part that instantly sets alarms off, because Apple doesn't use Ultra lightly. When Apple puts Ultra on a product, it typically signals a new top tier, more premium, more ambitious, and often more expensive. So the moment you see iPhone Ultra inside Apple's code, the obvious question becomes, what would justify an Ultra iPhone? The most likely answer is the one people have been waiting for: a foldable iPhone. For years, foldable iPhone rumors have come and gone. Different timelines, different designs, different alleged screen sizes, but Apple has stayed silent. Now, this iOS 27 Beta 5 leak doesn't confirm specs, and it doesn't include pictures. But it strongly supports the idea that Apple is actively preparing iOS for hardware, configurations that current iPhones simply don't have, and the battery clues are the most interesting part. The report points out that these device references appear in battery-related files, and it matches what earlier iOS 27 betas reportedly hinted at: support for foldable displays and even multiple batteries. That's huge because no current iPhone ships with a foldable display, and Apple doesn't use a dual battery configuration in iPhones today, but a foldable iPhone could absolutely need it. Foldables create new internal constraints. You have hinge space, split chassis space, different thermal zones, and a much larger display area when unfolded. All of that changes battery design and power management. A dual battery setup would make sense if Apple wants to distribute weight evenly across 2 halves of a folding device while still hitting strong battery life targets. And the operating system would need to recognize that layout properly: charging behavior, health reporting, intelligent power distribution, and battery analytics. That's why seeing these references inside battery drivers and battery intelligence features adds weight to the story. Apple wouldn't just casually include new battery drivers unless iOS had to support new battery behavior. Now let's talk about those 6 devices, because the list itself tells a story. The iPhone 18 Pro and iPhone 18 Pro Max are expected. Apple's Pro cycle is predictable. What's less predictable is the presence of 3 other names that suggest Apple is reshaping its iPhone lineup. iPhone 18e implies a more affordable entry-level model, similar in concept to Apple's past budget iPhone strategy, but with a simplified naming approach. iPhone Air 2 suggests Apple is continuing an Air iPhone tier, something lighter, Thinner or design-focused, likely aimed at customers who want premium style without necessarily going full pro. And iPhone Ultra suggests a new top tier. If Apple is doing Air Pro and Ultra, that creates a very clear ladder. Thin and light premium, Pro Performance premium, and Ultra premium innovation. But here's where the leak gets even more interesting. The release timing. According to the same reporting, Apple may be changing how it launches iPhones. Instead of dropping the entire next generation at once, the company is rumored to be prioritizing premium devices first, meaning the iPhone 18 Pro, iPhone 18 Pro Max, and the foldable iPhone Ultra could be the stars of Apple's fall iPhone event. And if that happens, the regular iPhone 18 and the iPhone 18e may not launch alongside them. In fact, the rumor here is dramatic. The standard iPhone 18 models and the iPhone 18e could be delayed until early 2027. That would be a major shift from Apple's typical schedule, where the fall event is the moment the entire core lineup drops together. If Apple really separates the premium tier from the mainstream tier, it could mean a few things are happening behind the scenes. One possibility is product complexity. A foldable iPhone Ultra would be one of the most complicated iPhone designs Apple has ever built. If Apple is also introducing new battery systems, new screen tech, and potentially new internal layouts, it may want its manufacturing capacity focused on fewer models at first, especially the ones that define the new direction. Another possibility is strategy. Apple may want the fall spotlight to be dominated by high-margin, high-hype devices. Pro, Pro Max, and Foldable Ultra. That's the kind of trio that can control headlines for weeks, push premium upgrades, and reposition what an iPhone even is. And if Apple delays the standard iPhone 18 and iPhone 18e, it could be trying to create two major launch moments instead of one for enthusiasts and early adopters, and one later for the mass market. Now, the iPhone Air 2 is also mentioned in the iOS 27 Beta 5 code, but the rumor suggests it may not be a fall announcement either. It could be in development but scheduled for later, which again supports the idea that Apple is breaking up its iPhone releases into phases. And here's the key detail. Even if Apple delays certain models, iOS still has to prepare for all of them. That's exactly why an iOS beta can become a window into Apple's future. Apple needs software support ready well in advance, drivers, power profiles, device identifiers, and system behavior tuned for different hardware. This is also why the lack of specs in the leak doesn't reduce its importance. The fact that the names and identifiers exist at all is the story, because iPhone leaks usually come in two forms. External leaks, like case renders and camera bumps, and internal leaks, like code references and configuration files. External leaks can be noisy. Internal code leaks are often fewer, but potentially more meaningful, because they reflect real engineering preparation. Now, before anyone takes this as confirmed, it's still a leak. Apple hasn't announced any of these devices. Apple could change names, shift plans, or remove references before final release. But historically, when Apple's beta software includes explicit identifiers for unreleased hardware, it often signals those devices are real and actively being worked on. And if Apple's fall event is only a couple of weeks away, as rumored, then iOS 27 Beta 5 could be one of the final betas before the public release in mid-September. That timing matters because Apple is typically aligning software readiness with hardware launch readiness. So what does all this mean for you, for buyers, and for the smartphone market? If Apple really is preparing a foldable iPhone Ultra, it's not going to be Apple catching up. It's going to be Apple attempting to redefine the premium smartphone category all over again, especially if it pairs foldable hardware with advanced battery management and a dual battery design that focuses on longevity and usability, rather than just novelty. And if Apple is truly shifting the release schedule so that premium iPhones launch first, we may be entering a new era where Apple's iPhone strategy looks more like its Mac strategy: staggered releases, clear tiers, and a more deliberate rollout based on product class.